Have you ever felt like you're being watched when you're all alone? Imagine you're stuck in a cabin deep in the woods, where screams go unheard, shadows move on their own, and something terrifying is waiting just outside your door. Tonight, you're about to discover 3 bone-chilling tales about cabins where nightmares become reality. The sun dipped behind the tall pines as Alex arrived at the old family cabin. He hadn't visited since childhood and hoped the isolation would help him finish his novel. Everything seemed untouched, just as he'd left it decades ago. Unlocking the door, the creak echoed, unsettling in the silence of the woods. After settling in, Alex brewed coffee, unpacked his notes, and opened his laptop. Night fell quickly. While writing, a gentle tapping sound distracted him. He paused, listened, but heard nothing. "Probably branches," he whispered, shaking off a sense of unease. Hours later, Alex awoke startled. It was pitch black, except for the moonlight streaming through a small window. He reached for his phone. Dead battery. The tapping returned, louder now, rhythmic. His heartbeat quickened. He cautiously approached the window, expecting to see branches swaying. But the night was utterly still. Something caught his eye. A figure, barely visible, standing motionless at the edge of the forest, staring directly at the cabin. Alex froze, his blood running cold. He rubbed his eyes, and the figure was gone. Sleep didn't come easily after that. The next morning, sunlight seemed to chase away the fear. Alex convinced himself it was his imagination, exhaustion playing tricks. Determined, he wrote throughout the day, ignoring the nagging dread in his gut. But as darkness returned, anxiety settled deeper. He built a fire, hoping its warmth and glow would bring comfort. Midnight approached when he heard it, a soft whisper, almost indistinguishable from the wind. "Alex." He spun around, searching every corner of the cabin. Empty. His breath heavy, he stepped outside with a flashlight. The beam trembled in his shaking hand as he walked toward the spot where he'd seen the figure. There, footprints in the mud, fresh, leading into the forest. His heart pounded louder. He followed reluctantly, compelled by a terrible curiosity. The footprints stopped abruptly near a tree. His flashlight flickered, revealing carvings in the bark, spelling his name repeatedly, etched deep and fresh. Panic overtook him, and he sprinted back toward the cabin. Inside, Alex barricaded the door, his mind racing. He heard footsteps approaching, circling the cabin. They stopped at the window, and a face pressed against the glass. A twisted grin, dark, soulless eyes staring right at him. Alex screamed, retreating into a corner, clutching a fire poker. The figure whispered again, clearer this time, "I've been waiting for you." The cabin fell silent, except for Alex's ragged breathing. Hours dragged by until dawn broke. When daylight finally came, he found the cabin door ajar, footprints muddying the wooden floor, leading right beside where he'd sat terrified all night. He never saw the figure again, but from that day on, Alex knew someone or something would always be watching, waiting for him to return. Claire's family desperately needed a break from city life, so renting a cabin deep in the Appalachian woods seemed perfect. Claire, her husband Jack, and their 2 children, Tommy and Lily, arrived just before sunset. Excited, they unpacked, roasting marshmallows outside as darkness crept in. That night, Claire woke suddenly. Lily stood by her bedside, wide-eyed. "Mommy, someone's calling me." Claire shushed her gently, dismissing it as a dream. But minutes later, she heard it too, a child's laughter echoing softly through the trees. She woke Jack, who dismissed it, claiming it was wildlife. The next morning, Claire explored the area. She stumbled across an old, abandoned playground hidden among dense trees. Rusted swings creaked ominously. An ancient merry-go-round spun slowly in the breeze. Something felt terribly wrong, as if eyes watched her every move. Back at the cabin, Tommy complained about someone whispering his name at night. Jack grew concerned, inspecting the area but found nothing unusual. Days passed, each night filled with strange noises, footsteps on the porch, laughter echoing faintly. Then one night, Claire woke to find the front door wide open. Frantic, she searched for her children, who were missing. She found them standing motionless at the edge of the woods, staring into darkness. "They're waiting for us?" Lily whispered. Claire grabbed her children, rushing them inside, bolting the door. She turned, startled. Figures stood silently outside each window, pale faces pressed against the glass, their hollow eyes staring mournfully inward. The family huddled together until morning. At dawn, they fled, never looking back. But Claire knew deep down the figures wouldn't stop waiting for them, always just outside the glass, patiently calling. Evan bought the old cabin in the woods sight unseen, eager for peace and solitude. It was isolated, miles from any neighbors, perfect for the quiet life he craved. After moving in, Evan explored every inch, excited by his new home. Weeks later, a violent storm battered the cabin, knocking a heavy shelf loose in the cellar. Behind it, Evan discovered a hidden doorway, locked tight. Intrigued, he found tools and pried it open. Stale air and darkness spilled out. He shone his flashlight inside, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling downward. Curiosity overwhelmed caution, and Evan descended slowly. At the bottom, a small, dusty room awaited. Strange symbols covered the walls. A single chair sat in the center, restraints hanging loosely, stained dark red. Unease prickled his skin as he hurried back upstairs, sealing the door again, determined to forget what he'd seen. But each night after, Evan heard soft cries from below, faint sobs of anguish seeping through the floorboards. Sleep-deprived, Evan began hearing whispers calling his name. Shadows danced in corners, and doors opened on their own. The cellar door rattled violently each midnight, but when checked, remained sealed shut. Paranoia consumed him. He couldn't escape the feeling someone was always behind him, watching silently. Finally, desperate for peace, Evan reopened the hidden door, hoping to confront whatever tormented him. Descending again, he found the room changed. Candles flickered, illuminating a figure seated in the chair, bound, head lowered. Terrified yet compelled, Evan approached, calling out. The figure raised its head slowly, revealing Evan's own face, twisted and hollow-eyed. "Welcome home," it whispered, chains rattling as it stood. Evan backed away, panic-stricken. The doorway slammed shut above him, sealing him in darkness. Outside the cabin, life continued untouched. The hidden room below silent once more, waiting patiently for its next visitor. So next time you're alone in the dark, think twice before stepping into a secluded cabin in the woods, because you never know who or what might already be there, waiting just for you.